No one is ready for what's about to happen, as Chris Drury has given us some insight into his plan for the Rangers head coaching position, and a Rangers insider has revealed some of the options for the vacant head coach position, and these options are going to have Rangers fans both fired up and absolutely livid. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest, but before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel, so if you want to stay up to date with everything, every little thing that happens with the New York Rangers this summer, as it's going to be a very busy offseason for the retooling team, it's free. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything that's happening with this team. But let's dive right into it. Let's waste no time. Chris Drury has finally spoken out on firing Peter Laviolette and his master plan for finding a new head coach and what's going to happen with the rest of the coaching staff. So what we do know is the goaltending staff will stay on. They are not getting released. They're not getting let go. Nothing like that. They are going to stay with the team. Now, Michael Pekka and a couple other assistant coaches will interview this summer, re-interview, to stay on the coaching staff. They're not going to be up for the head coaching position, but they will interview or re-interview again to stay on the staff. But again, Chris Drury did speak out on what is going to happen here, and he said, "I'm not going at this with any preset dispositions. If it's a first-time coach and it's the best fit, great. As far as what the team needs, again, we're just trying to find the best fit we can to do what we need to do. We're looking at a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different candidates." Now, at face value, this is him saying a lot of nothing, really. I mean, we know that there's a lot of candidates out there. We know there's a lot of different scenarios. It really depends how this team wants to go. But I believe that this team needs to go with a younger coach and a coach that can actually connect and utilize young talent, because that's the direction that this team is going. That's the direction that Chris Drury has decided to take with the roster and some of the moves that he's made. So again, besides JT Miller, we know why he brought him in, but the rest of the team, the Gabe Perreaults of the world, the Brennan Othman, Brett Berard, just to name a few, and then you have some on defense as well, Matthew Robertson. So again, if it's a first-time coach and it's the best fit, great. So it looks like Chris Drury is really open to anything at this time. And I wanted to get into this article from Vince Mercogliano, and he said, "Yes, I've already heard some names to keep an eye on in the New York Rangers coaching search," and he broke down 8 candidates that could end up being the Rangers head coach. And there's a few in this article that are very interesting. Go read the article if you want to see all of them. One of them is a coach that we actually talked about a couple videos ago. And no, it's not the obvious ones in Mike Sullivan, Joel Quenneville, and John Tortorella, which we'll get to in a second. It's not the obvious ones, and I think it's actually a really good fit. So just go check out the article and that video. I'll put it down in the description. Now, couple fans out there want Joel Quenneville, and Joel Quenneville can coach in the NHL again. Obviously, we know what happened with his time with the Florida Panthers, and then after that, he had to, he was away from the NHL. But a lot of Rangers fans do like the idea of Joel Quenneville, and honestly, he is a winning coach. He has a winning pedigree, right? And when you look at Joel Quenneville, multiple sources indicate, and this is from Vince Mercogliano's article, there's just a quote from it, multiple sources indicated that the 66-year-old badly wants an opportunity to coach in the NHL, first of all, and views New York as a coveted landing spot. Now, Joel Quenneville is a guy who knows how to win. He's won 3 Stanley Cups, right, with the Chicago Blackhawks. He had a great season going when he was there with the Florida Panthers as well. And in terms of hockey, the on-ice stuff, he is a great coach, right? We know that. Winning pedigree, and he can work with young players. These guys that won the Stanley Cup with him, the Duncan Keiths of the world, the Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves, all these guys, they were young when they all first got there, right? He knows how to utilize young talent. So I think he would be a really, really good option, honestly. Again, in terms of the on-ice stuff, all of that, as a coach, he would be a good option for this team. I do truly believe that. There are some other options here, and, this is from Mike Rupp, and again, he's just throwing this out there. I don't know if there's any insight into this, but, or any, backing to it, I should say. But if the plan is to win with this group, I believe there's only 3 correct choices for the next head coach: Joel Quenneville, John Tortorella. The third one currently coaches another NHL team, and I can tell you exactly who he's talking about, and it's the coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and that's Mike Sullivan. We're going to get to him in a second too. This team needs structure, accountability, and to be squeezed. Not just those things. Something I talked about in a previous video yesterday. they need a culture. They need a coach who's going to build a culture. Paul Maurice, what he's done with the Florida Panthers. John Cooper, what he's done with the Tampa Bay Lightning, just to name a few, right? They need a guy who's going to come in and instill a culture, and all three of these guys will. Now, I don't think John Tortorella is the man for the job. And I will say that because I'm a little scared that he is going to become the man for the job, because this is Darren Dreger on John Tortorella. I mean, for me, the New York Rangers are the only team that right now that makes sense. And the reason why I feel like that is no disrespect to Peter Laviolette, it's because James Dolan, the owner of the New York Rangers, loves, in capitals, loves John Tortorella. And that owner has a ton of clout. Let's see what happens if they miss the playoffs in New York. And then the rest of the quote, this is from a little while ago before Peter Laviolette was let go. But he went on to say that the way things are, he does like John Tortorella. John Tortorella doesn't like to, keep anyone too comfortable, right? We know what type of coach he is. He coached here before. And I think the other interesting thing with John Tortorella is Chris Drury played for John Tortorella on the New York Rangers. So James Dolan likes him. Chris Drury played for him, and he was just let go, or not let go, but stepped down, whatever you want to call it, from the Philadelphia Flyers. So where there's smoke, there's fire, I'm telling you. So I think John Tortorella, if we're making a list, and this is not my personal list, let me say that first of all, this is not my personal list, but if we're making a list in terms of who we think they will actually hire, I do believe John Tortorella is number one on that list. And I think that's a little scary, because when you look at some of the quotes from the players that he just coached, this is from Sean Couturier on John Tortorella. He said, "I just felt at times I was getting pushed aside. I don't know the reason, or maybe didn't agree with the explanations. I was just trying to not be a distraction and keep my mouth shut." This is the captain of the Philadelphia Flyers, by the way, saying this. So, and he was speaking out on, the question towards him was, how was your relationship with Torts? Essentially, he said that he didn't have too much of a relationship with Torts, which is insane because that's the captain and the coach. So I think that's absolutely insane. So, what Torts did in New York back 12, 13 years ago is that, and who Torts is now is who he is now. So I don't know, I don't think he is actually the right coach for this team, because yes, there was an effort problem with a couple guys, and the guys that there was the problem with are your top guys, and they need to lead by example. That is an issue, but I don't think John Tortorella is the guy to, we saw it with Michkov in Philadelphia this season. He's not the guy to take over a younger team and kind of utilize younger talent. I don't think he is. So in terms of who I actually think that they will hire, he's number one on the list, but in terms of who they should hire, probably not even on my list. Now, there's a lot of different articles, like what are the Rangers going to do this year or this offseason? How are they going to retool the roster? There's so much flying around out there, and this is from Drager again, that James Dolan loves John Tortorella, so keep that in mind. And if the Rangers miss the playoffs, this was also from Darren Drager on April 1st. Keep that in mind. And everything that he said here has come to light. We know that James Dolan does want to take a more hands-on approach to the Rangers, which is extremely scary because, doesn't know too much about sports. We do know that. But anyway, him getting involved is a little scary. There was a John Tortorella endorsement on TNT Sports the other day. John Tortorella fired as head coach of the Flyers. Again, there was rumors that he was fired versus stepping down, what have you. He's won the Jack Adams twice, 2004 with Tampa Bay when he won the Stanley Cup, and 2017 with the Columbus Blue Jackets. And he won the Stanley Cup, obviously, in Tampa Bay. We know what John Tortorella is about in New York, right? We know what he's about. He's coached here before. And not just that, he's continued to be the same person, the same coach everywhere he's gone since. So it's very interesting. And Stephen Valiquette, again, just throwing it out there that there was an endorsement on TNT. He wasn't saying it himself, but just throwing it out there. Now, the one coach that I believe if they can get, and if you followed along this far into the video, thank you, because, I'm finally going to get into here my personal choice for head coach. If available, or, it doesn't even have to be available. If you can just back up the Brinks truck for him and be like, hey, leave Pittsburgh and come over. It's Mike Sullivan to me. I think this is the guy that you really want. And there's been no inkling of him leaving Pittsburgh. There's been nothing out there about him getting fired right now, but anything can happen. And again, I think that coaches can leave if they want, right? If you wanted to take on a new challenge with a team that is maybe at this time better equipped than the Pittsburgh Penguins, right? Obviously, you don't want to leave Sidney Crosby in his eyes, but the Rangers are a better equipped team, I believe, for him. So, This is from Vince Mercogliano, this quote, and it said, I still very much believe that Mike Sullivan is going to be at the top of the New York Rangers list, and they're going to try really hard to get him. But after that, it's going to be kind of interesting if they're not able to make that happen. So it's a long shot. I think he would be the best choice because he's actively coaching. Like, Quenneville hasn't coached in a couple of years. So for me, Mike Sullivan's the best coach available for the job if he becomes available. So that would be very interesting to keep eyes on. And I don't know if he would leave Pittsburgh upright if he's not, if he doesn't step down for whatever reason, or he doesn't get fired or let go, right? I don't see him leaving Pittsburgh, but anything can happen. And Chris Drury can be like, hey, man, come over here and coach this team maybe for a little bit more money. So going to be very interesting. This is also from Vince before we wrap up here. The feeling amongst two league sources who spoke to Vince is that Chris Drury will yet again prioritize experienced candidates. He did come out and say that anything can happen, Chris Drury, and that he might hire a first-time coach, but he will prioritize experience. And with Pittsburgh's Mike Sullivan serving as his number one target. But if he can't pry the two-time Stanley Cup winner away from the Penguins, don't be surprised to see a few familiar names enter the fray, including former Blue Shirts coach John Tortorella. The Rangers' level of interest is unclear, but word is John Tortorella wants to keep coaching after being dismissed by the Flyers and will push for the job. So lots of moving pieces going on here for the New York Rangers and what they're planning to do. Again, in terms of available coaches, John Tortorella, I believe, is at the top of their list. In terms of who they just want, it's Mike Sullivan, I believe. So where there's smoke, there's fire, and I think things are about to get very interesting for the Rangers in terms of finding a new head coach. But let me know in the comments who you would want as the coach of the New York Rangers. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.